Hey guys.
Freya's laughing at you. Hi everyone. We are just about to get ready to go to feeding therapy, but I thought today I could do a little chat about the CdLS spectrum and where Freya falls on that. So Freya has just turned 4 years old. She has Cornelia de Lange Syndrome, which is a rare genetic syndrome. It's usually not inherited. It is what they call a de novo mutation, meaning I don't carry it, Chris doesn't carry it. It started just randomly with Freya, either at conception or very shortly after conception. Usually the gene change will happen before you even find out you're pregnant. So, a lot of people always like to compare CdLS kids, and I even do it myself. Like, oh, Freya's not doing that, but this kid is doing that. And it's important to remember it is a large spectrum. So I just want to go through the usual effects CdLS have on the body and kind of symptoms of CdLS, and say where I feel she falls on that scale, because it's hard to say overall where Freya is, because in some things she's very mildly affected and in other things I feel like she's severely affected. So we'll kind of go through bit by bit and I'll give you my 2 cents on all of that, and then at the end of the video hopefully I'll get you a little footage with Freya at therapy. I'm taking Fiona and Jesse today, and they're so excited because they love her therapists. We've spent some time trying to find some good ones, so they're excited to go. So hang around till the end of the video, or if you're not interested in the little chat, just fast forward to the end of the video and you'll get some cute Freya content. So the first sign that we knew Freya had CdLS was, of course, her limb difference, and we found that out at 20 weeks gestation at her anatomy ultrasound. I think I actually was 23 weeks gestation. We pushed her anatomy ultrasound back just so that I could go and see the doctor and get the ultrasound at the same time. So I was actually 23 weeks. I'd say she's moderately affected. She has 1 limb difference. Some kids with CdLS have 2 limb differences. Some of the limb differences have their elbow fused, meaning they can't reach for things. Freya does not have her elbow fused, so that I would say is a little less affected. She does well with her limb difference, so it's not really, honestly, on the whole scale of things that she has to deal with. Can you hear her in the background? She's having a fun time behind the camera. On the whole scale of things that we deal with CdLS, the limb difference is not something we even worry about. She uses her hand really well. It's not an issue, but she does have a limb difference, whereas some others don't. So I wouldn't say she's severely affected with that, because she could have 2 limb differences and they could be fused at the elbow, but she is affected. The next big thing is health for the CdLS kids. I have noticed Freya does have a little bit lowered immune system than my other kids, but not to the extreme that she has been hospitalized for an illness yet. And I'm going to knock on wood for that one, because I do feel like it's a very real possibility that she could get hit with something hard and we could have to be admitted to the hospital. So I would say she's mildly affected on health, because she is a pretty healthy kiddo. A geneticist once told me that why CdLS is such a huge spectrum is because genes make proteins, and especially Freya, hers is on the splice site of the gene that makes the proteins for your body and sends those proteins out toward your body. So she does only have 1 splice site that's affected, so not all of the proteins being made from that gene are being sent out differently than others. Also, genetics, you can have really good genetics where your kid would normally have a great immune system, and so that kind of counteracts the genetics of CdLS. It's kind of, genes are just, it's not like you have a syndrome that affects an entire chromosome. So you have 22 chromosomes, right? I think. Anyway, so some syndromes affect a whole chromosome. Like Down syndrome, you have an extra chromosome on the 21st chromosome. No, you have 23 chromosomes. Yes, you have 23 chromosomes. And Down syndrome, they have a whole extra chromosome. So it's a little more, not set in stone, a little more predictable, I guess would be the word, of what a child with Down syndrome is going to experience. Whereas when it's just one gene in a chromosome, Freya's gene changes NIPDL, it's on chromosome 5, and it's just one of the genes in that chromosome. So it's kind of a little less predictable on how she's going to react to that. The next thing is organs and malformations with your organs. Some kids have heart problems, some kids have kidney problems, some kids have trachea problems, some kids have GI problems. Freya does have GI problems. She has reflux, pretty severe acid reflux, and she also has the eosinophil esophagitis. I still would say she's only mildly affected on those two things as well. It's really pretty much controlled with diet. The acid reflux isn't as controlled with diet, but we've made big improvements. So I'd say she's mildly affected. She does have a heart murmur, but she does not have any structural issues with her heart that she needed fixed. So mild on that front, I would say. The next front would be growth. I'd say she's pretty moderate to severely affected on her growth. She's 4 years old and 20 pounds and 32 inches long. She is teeny tiny. She's in size 24-month clothes, and just, it's still a struggle to get her to gain any weight. She eats a high-fat, high-calorie diet, high-nutrient-dense diet, and still we struggle to keep that weight on. I think next we'll tackle development, because I feel like this is where Freya is toward the more moderate to severely affected with development. Now I know there are more severely affected kids than Freya. I'm not saying she is the severest of severe cases. I'm just saying I would say she's on that line between moderate and severe with development. Like I said, she's 4 years old. She is just pulling up to standing on furniture. She's nowhere near walking. I think if she does walk, that'll be more toward the 7-8-year-old thing that she'll do. Intellectual development, I feel like is harder to gauge. A lot of the tests they have to check for intellectual development are based on communication. And if your child is not deaf or hard of hearing, then they don't count sign language as communication in these tests. Freya is nonverbal, so on those tests she is 9 months, maybe even younger, developmentally, intellectually, because she cannot communicate her needs as like a 1-year-old could say a couple words, handful of words. She has none. So I don't believe that. I mean, she is nonverbal, but I do not believe that she is at the intellectual level of a 9-month-old or 6-month-old. I do feel like she is behind her typically developing peers on intellectual development, but I do feel like we just can't gauge how much someone is comprehending when they are nonverbal. I believe she comprehends a lot. I believe she knows a lot more than we can gauge. But according to the test, she is severely affected developmentally. She is 3 years behind her peers, at least 3.5 maybe, and typically developing peers. I hate when they say behind her peers, because her peers aren't typically developing, they're disabled. So yeah, that one's hard to gauge, but on paper she is severely affected on that as well as physical development. Do you want to show everybody your leaf? Come over here. You have to be right by mommy. What does it look like?
Probably gonna cut it out. Like this.
Looks like a heart leaf.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll leave it in.
It is.
I love it.
It gives love to everyone.
I love that it gives love to
Well,
everyone.
maybe. I don't know.
The last one that was above us, Liam, it was before Liam was born. Or right as Liam was born. We have a solar eclipse coming here tomorrow. We're so excited to see it.
Yeah. And I got all the stuff.
About 20 years.
Okay, that's cool. Can I finish my video before we get all this stuff out?
Oh, okay.
I'm almost done, okay? And then we'll read your book, okay?
Yes.
Behavioral issues. I was talking to, so in preparation for this video, I have a group chat with a bunch of CdLS moms with kids that were all born around the same time as Freya was. So I went to them this morning and I was like, where would you say Freya is on the spectrum? Because I feel like she's like on the moderate to severe side, but like maybe I'm just like overly dramatic because I'm living in it and it feels like a lot to me, and I wanted kind of just a perspective. And in this group we have one child who is 2 and walking, and one child who has passed on very sadly, and a child who's 6 months older than Freya, and a child who is, I think, 1.5 or 2 years older than Freya. So kind of right around there, all developmentally. And most everybody was like, oh, she does so good, but she's not mild. And we started talking about behavioral issues, and one of my friends was like, I think Freya does fine behaviorally. I'm like, yeah, she will hit her head sometimes with her hand, and she does have kind of some more OCD tendencies. And this friend was like, yeah, but Freya's not autistic, I don't think. And I just kind of smiled because, again, it's so hard to gauge what is just nonverbal behavior, what is coming from CdLS, is she autistic? And I would agree she does have a couple autistic traits, but I think those come from elsewhere. But it's so hard to gauge. So I would say she's moderate on the behavioral scale. So she does have some behavioral issues, but so I wouldn't say she's mildly, I'd say she's more on the mild, moderate side of that. No, Freya says. Not mild.
I'm a spider.
So, overall, I would say she is moderately affected by CdLS, and that's where she would fall on the spectrum. I really, if you're watching this and you have a child that's mildly affected or moderately affected or severely affected with CdLS, please share your story on YouTube. I feel like we're so underrepresented here, and I'd love people to get just like a fuller picture of what CdLS looks like for different children. Because even within the moderate affected, like I said, some things she's mildly affected, some things she's severely affected. So it would be great to see more people sharing their story. the girls just came home, so of course Freya is just crawling around the house, yelling, having a good time.
Except for Freya. Freya didn't just barely.
She was like,
Oh, right. Yeah, Freya's one of the girls, isn't she?
she was like sitting down and then she went down, which boosted herself up.
Yeah.
So silly.
See what's your balloon.
All right. Well, thanks for being in on my little chat about the spectrum of CdLS. If you have any questions, please leave them down below, and I would love to answer them here or on another video if you feel like we need a whole video on the subject. And just, yeah, let me know.
And so, next I think us are going to do physical therapy.
No, feeding therapy.
Feeding therapy.
Yep, we're going to go to feeding therapy. Should we get some good videos for him at feeding therapy?
Yeah.
Are you excited to go?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. We love feeding therapy, huh?
Mhm.
All right.
And the doggo is right here.
Oh, the doggo is right there. I wonder if you can see her in the video.
Can you? Comment down below.
All right, off to feeding therapy. Let's go.
Yes. Okay. Oh.
Freya's like, get me out of here.
Or you can sit. Just.
There you go.
She's like, I'll take the one in your hand.
Here we go. Oh, thank you. Last one right here. Last one. What? Right here. You got it. Oh,
Good job.
She doesn't understand
Can
it.
you push the button? There we go.
There's so many fishies. Was it originally this way?
Yep. They didn't redecorate it just for Freya.
Why did they make it that way? The school of fish?
Yeah, just fun decoration for kids.
My favorite is the little yellow sea turtle like this. Or maybe the giant sea turtle.
Golden. You mean?
Where's the yellow?
Ah, easy. Can you please move your leg?
But on this side, my favorite is probably the stingray.
Mine. Wait.
My
Oh,
favorite
mine.
is the
Oh, I see you already.
Making some popcorn on the fire. I hear it. Did I find this thing or did you?
I did.
Oh, that's right. You got it for either like my birthday or Mother's Day or something.
May have just been a random pickup at Sportsman's either. I don't recall.
Well, I love it. It's the best present you've ever gotten me.
would you say like 202 or
What do you think? Popcorn. So delicious, 100%. Best thing you've ever tried? Yeah, that's how I feel about popcorn. It's cold out here. Gotta go get a jacket on or put another log on the fire. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, you guys, and listening to my explanation of the CdLS spectrum. And I hope we'll see you next time.